Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about question 4 on the Earth and Space Science June 2025 Regents exam. So let's get started. So, as always, underline or highlight unknown words, word meanings, context clues, or important details on what any information is about, relationships between things, and circle any task verbs that are given to you. Let's get started. So, number 4, based on the our solar system model, if a new planet was identified that orbited the sun at an average orbital distance greater than that of Mercury but less than that of Venus, the average speed of the planet would be. So, this is so much information, but highlighting or underlining gives you a way to just make all this information very brief and easy to understand. So, I'm going to highlight our solar system model because it's telling me to go to that model. And in the previous question, I actually looked at that model and actually highlighted that model, and I'm going to go back to it in a bit. If and remember, all the questions are related. Questions in the cluster are related. Previously has told me questions 1 through 5 are all related, and look at all the information for those questions. So even though I looked at our solar system model for question 3, it still is telling me to go back to that model for question 4. So if a new planet was identified, I'm going to highlight new planet because it's giving me some clue on what this question wants me to answer. So if a new planet was identified that orbited the sun, so this planet must orbit the sun, I'm going to highlight that, at an average orbital distance greater than that of Mercury. This seems to be a relationship. So I'm going to highlight average or orbital distance. That's what it wants from me, but it needs to be greater than Mercury. So I highlighted Mercury, but it also needs to be less than Venus. Okay, so I need to so we have a hypothetical new planet that also orbits the sun, but its distance, orbital distance, it must be greater than Mercury but less than Venus. Okay, so its distance must be that, and the average speed of the planet would be what? Okay, so it's telling me that the distance of this planet is greater than Mercury, must be farther away from the sun then, and less than Venus, must be closer to the sun then. What's the average speed of this planet? Okay, let's look at this model because it's going to give me a bit more information, make this easier for me to look at. Here's Mercury and here's Venus. Same thing here. Looks like Mercury is closer to the sun. Venus is farther away from the sun. Okay, I'm adding more highlights than I previously did after reading the question in case I didn't highlight these before. So let's look back again. This planet is orbiting the sun. Its distance is greater than that of Mercury from the sun. So it's somewhere over here, a little greater than Mercury, but less than Venus. So somewhere in the middle of Venus and Mercury, right here. So what should its speed be? Looks like its speed, remember, based on our Kepler's laws, third law of periods, the orbital period, how long it takes for a planet to go around the sun, is actually longer as it's farther away from the sun, and it's shorter as it's closer to the sun. It takes less amount of time to orbit when it's closer to the sun. And I'm going to look at my reference table again. I've already highlighted the pages before on where to find the stars or the sun or planets. And I see that it also gives me some information on the distance of Mercury and Venus here and the period of revolution here, how long it takes to orbit the sun. And if I didn't know, if I forgot this law of Kepler's third law, this gives me some information. It tells me that the closer I am to the sun, the less time it takes to orbit the sun. The farther I am from the sun based on this distance, it looks like the longer it takes to go around the sun. And looks like the farther away the planets are from the sun, the longer it takes from days to years. So even if I didn't know this law, this is why the reference table is there for you. You can figure it out even if you don't remember. Going back, this makes the answer choice 2. The planet's average speed of this planet must be less than the average speed of Mercury because the planet seems to be farther away from Mercury. So the farther away from the sun, the slower it should be. But since it's closer than Venus, it should be faster than Venus because it's a little closer to the sun than Venus. That's why the average speed of this planet would be less than the average speed of Mercury. It should be slower than Mercury because it's farther away from Mercury and from the sun, but greater than the average speed of Venus. It's a little closer to the sun than Venus, so it must be a higher speed. And that's it. In the next video, we're going to talk about question 5.